Welcome, everyone. Once again, this is the Central State Extension CED Live, Office Hour Live, brought to you by, for those of you who don't know what CED is the Community and Economic Development. And according to us, our CED team, I have two of the members with us, and it's Pamela Alos, also known as Paige, because she goes by Paige, and Ambrose Moses. And we are here just to engage the community and Central State Extension and Central State University as a whole on all things CED. And today we will have Tracy Knight of I Am Cal Caps, Tracy Knight Consulting. She is a CSU alumna from the College of Education, teacher extraordinaire, awesome consultant. I've been blessed to know her for many years and have seen her work. She is about not only organization building and development, but has a personal and professional mission in people building. And those things are all needed for whenever we have good organizations, resilient organizations, and I'm glad that she's able to join us today. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to Tracy, and I will ask that you kind of start out just giving a background. I mean, I did it high level, but you've even done some awesome things for Central State University. So start there and go forth.
Okay, let me first get my whole life here on the share screen. So first of all, can you see my screen? Do you see a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So technology is working.
Yes.
Just give me 2 seconds here so that I can see. I want to be able to see you. So good afternoon, CSU and CSU family. I am Tracy Knight, and I'm super excited. I was actually Tracy Sears when I came to Central State back in 1987. I'm a 1992 graduate of my illustrious alma mater, and just super excited to be here today. I know Amber asked me to give you a little bit of a background. Definitely during my tenure there, it's just one of the best seasons of my life. I was there under Dr. Arthur E. Thomas, who is my mentor, and so I give homage to him. And I also just was extremely active while I was on campus and really in this pursuit of greatness that I'm going to be talking a little bit about. So often we want to stay relevant. We want to we want to make sure that we're making a significant contribution in the world. And I think that one of the big takeaways from today is making sure that you surround yourself with people who can inspire that level of greatness and that causes you to tap into the innate genius that's already inside of you. So while I was there, Dr. Thomas, among many other people that I could name, helped to inspire that in me. And so when Central State was facing very trying times in the mid 90s and the late 90s, and they were threatening to turn the institution's grounds into a prison. It was, they were going to turn it into a prison at the state level, that I saw it fit to just ask the question, how can I allow my own genius, my own greatness to show up and support an institution that had given so much to me? And so that's when I decided to join the National Alumni Association. I really didn't know that much about it, but I had been extremely active on campus. I'm a member of Delta. I pledged to Delta Kappa. Just was in everything. I'm one of the, not founders, but I'm one of the people who transformed the Student Ambassador Program. I was Chief Ambassador for 4 years and worked under Tina and Bob Johnson and Shay Hope and a whole bunch of other people, really bringing students into the school. I was a huge voice for the school. They would take me out on marketing initiatives to recruit students all around the country. So I was very active when I was on campus. I could name a Senate. I was on the Student Senate. And just a number of other things. But the main thing is that I love Central State University, and it was giving me so much. So when the school was facing this potentially catastrophic event, I really wanted to play a role in helping to solidify its foundation. And so joined the National Alumni Association, and for 5 years, really, we worked diligently to, one, educate ourselves on what was really going on. As you know, Dr. Thomas was asked to step away, and they brought in consultants and a whole bunch of other people. It was very strategic, but what the alumni, the leadership of the Alumni Association did was to really use what had been instilled in them to be able to transform the belief systems around Central State and the contribution it makes in the country. We were able to shift the relevancy of the institution to help people to see that they could relate to the institution in a different way. And then we caused them to take right action. Now, in this process, I went from being a board member to the vice president of the National Alumni Association to being the national president of the Alumni Association. In fact, I'm the youngest, I do believe still, the youngest president of the National Alumni Association in history. And I think I was the first woman. But so I'm very proud of those accomplishments. But we were able to get the legislators and the corporate leaders who had not only voice, but had deep pockets to be able to influence the vote to such that legislators voted that Central State was a viable and essential part of the state of Ohio and the students that attended the institution. And so that's why you're there today. That's why you're able to be sitting in this position right now, because of the work of this collective group of people. So when we talk about the pursuit of greatness and how I'm sorry, that's just actually just say how to stay relevant in times of transition, I think it would help if I told you a little bit about my philosophy around life and around leadership, because what I just explained to you is leadership. Personally, I do not believe that leadership is a title. Leadership is a way of being. It's how you show up every single day. I don't care if you're the administrative assistant or the custodian. Depending on how you could be in any of those roles and be a key influencer in the workplace. I've seen it over and over again with the organizations, the companies that I work with globally, that if you have someone who is very clear, who is very conscious, who is courageous enough to take a stand, and they are convicted in what needs to happen, and they know how to be connected with other people. Leadership is about getting people to move. It's about getting people to do what needs to be done on their own. Now, you can get people to move and it be begrudgingly, but a true leader is a person who is able to influence people to do things on their own accord, that they naturally tap into their own genius, their own greatness to be able to perform whatever act it is that you need. So my philosophy is that we are all playing this game called life and leadership here for the duration of your life. And so you as a leader, because we are all leaders, we are all chosen, we are all called, we are getting this opportunity to see how we will show up in times of peace and tranquility, but also in times of controversy, struggle, and strife. And depending on how you show up, is an exhibition of your character. It is a demonstration of where you are in your own growth and leadership abilities. So I believe that while we are here playing this game, our objective is to hone our skills such that when we come up against adversity, whether it's adversity in the workplace, adversity in our community, we have a whole country that is in flux right now. Where do you stand on not just the issues, but where do you stand in times of controversy? And how do you show up to actually make an impact? So the emotional intelligence competencies are the ones that I focus in on, because they are proven to matter 2 times as much as your technical skills when it comes to determining the caliber and the effectiveness of a leader. Emotional intelligence competencies give you the opportunity to learn how to master yourself, so that when you are confronted with a situation, you can show up as the most powerful, influential version of yourself. And then on top of that, you will be able to navigate the inevitable and ever-changing circumstances that life is going to present you. There is no getting around it. That's what life is built around. It's changing circumstances. The question is, who are you when that happens? So, and then I think the last part of it, and I have it here on the slide, is can you enjoy the ride? Because it's a process. Or do you condemn yourself? Do you shrink? Do you shrink away from the power that is naturally inside of you? Do you thwart it? Do you hide it? Or do you allow it to shine, and shine such that it is interdependent with other people whose light is shining? Or is it only your light that shines? And so these changing circumstances give us an opportunity to show up as our most powerful self. So the first question that I had, and I do prefer that that it is not a requirement, but I do prefer that you use your camera. So if you can position yourself to use your camera, because part of what we're talking about here about being relevant, revealing your greatness, is to reveal yourself to yourself, but to reveal yourself to other people. There's no way for us to be powerful as individuals and as a collective if we don't get an opportunity to connect with one another. So it's up to you, but I'm inviting you to come off of the shadows, or, put your camera on so that we can actually connect. That being said, thank you, Ambrose. I appreciate that. That being said, I have a question. I would love for you. This is not like school, so I would welcome you just jumping in and having the conversation. What does it mean to be relevant? Now, I know I'm not the only one here. Some people have joined over here. Why did you join? You know what I'm saying? Why are we here? So we're here to have a conversation, and prayerfully you will take something away that will serve you. So be present and contribute. I really want to hear from you. So what does that mean? What does it mean to you to be relevant? Anyone?
I think what you just said, being present and contributing.
Awesome.
And I think staying relevant means that you are constantly learning, improving on your skills so that you can still assist others with reaching their goals. So for me, being relevant is also helping others to reach their goals.
Awesome. What else? How does our society define relevance? That's a big one.
I think that a lot of society sort of misunderstands and misuses that word relevant, because there's so many comments of, oh, that's not relevant, or you're not relevant. So I think that there is a significant segment that misuses and sort of abuses that concept of something or someone being relevant. And I think it's important because in doing that, the society sort of suffers from a lack of identifying and acknowledging those things and those people that truly are relevant to the collective.
Yes. Ashe. I think it's Ivy that has her hand up. So I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, I agree. I agree with what's been said, but I also wanted to just add that sometimes in the workplace, relevant means what you can do for me, what knowledge I can take from you to advance myself or oneself. Don't want to make it personal.
I understand. I understand totally. I think these are all great contributions because what we're really saying is that being relevant is allowing your greatness or your genius to shine through. Everybody has it. You know, people try to make purpose so complicated, and it's really not. Genius is in all of us. We all have a purpose for being here. Like, you cannot not have that. And all you have to do is to really lean into that. What we have made it mean are all these sort of things that are outside of us, you know, other people's opinions. I am what I look like, I am what I have, I am what I do, I am what other people think about me. I'm separate and apart, so I must compete, Ivy, to get ahead, even if it means taking from the whole to serve me, you know. And so that then makes me relevant. And the reason that we get to that place is because really on the inside, we really don't believe in our own worth. See, when you believe in your own genius, in your own worth, you don't really need anything else to feed you. You're feeding yourself from the inside. And so that feeding of yourself, your own sense of self-worth, and this is the difference between, this is the difference between what I would call like the big S or the little s. The little s, hey Fawn, the little s is the little successes. This is where we have the 1 minute of glory. We get the award, we get the title, we get the, the accolades, we get the material possessions, we get the little s, whatever that is. We get the husband or the wife or the partner. We get the little s is something that's outside of us. But inside, don't you know that there are plenty of people who have a lot of little s's around them? And s's are good. Little s's are a great thing. There's no judgment on that. But it is the defining of oneself, because when those little s's go away, and they do at times go away, the accolades fade to the back. You all didn't even know I was National Alumni President. You know, so if I hung my hat on that, and the work that we did collectively, if I said I saved Central State University, first of all, it's not the truth, but I will say, but if I said that, first of all, you don't even know. So the little s's tend to fade away with time. You know, they tend to fade away. Marriages end. So if you've hung your hat on being Mrs. So-and-so or being married to whatever, or, and you get a divorce, then all of a sudden your worth goes down. You know, your sense of how you perceive yourself as being great is diminished. If you hang your hat on your children, and children grow up and they go find their own path, but if your whole life is centered around your children, then when they go away, your self-worth is diminished. This is the big S that I'm talking about, the greatness that I'm talking about, self-worth. If you hang your hat on your looks, I know I graduated in 1992, and I definitely do not look exactly like I did at 17 when I came into Central State University. It just is not there. Now, I think I'm maintaining well. I love the way I look, but if we hang our hat on still trying to cleave to what things were at one point, when that doesn't happen, we're going to always be disappointed. And it's the same within our organizations. If you're trying to find your self-worth, and Ivy mentioned this, nobody can steal anything from you. Ivy, I just want you to know this, because see, we don't have any control over what other people do. But no one can steal anything from you, because first of all, everything we have is being downloaded to us. It doesn't even belong to us. You know, it's just coming through us. Any information, gifts, talents, is coming through us. In other words, we become a vessel for imbuing the genius that has been bestowed upon us. And so the more opportunities we have to be of service, then we begin to be connected but non-attached to how it is utilized. And we get to focus on just how to be bigger and greater in what it is that we do. And when I say greater, I'm saying like we feel content and complete in what it is. We know we show up as our most powerful version of ourselves. Do we know that there are people who are being served, who serve their ego, their smaller, which we need our ego, by the way. I don't villainize ego. Ego is individuality, and we need that. But there are people who live most of their life from an individuality, ego served perspective. Nothing wrong with that. That's a choice. It's a personal choice. But I'm telling you, if you want to go long in this game, if you want to go long in the game, then tapping into the bigger S, that sense of self-worth, pouring into that so that you can allow your genius to shine through, whether it's owning a business. I've been in business 16 years now. You know, sometimes I'm like, how have I been in business 16 years? I don't know. I really don't. But it's allowing, it's such that whatever it is that you do, it doesn't feel like, I love what John Madden said. He said, I've never worked a day in my life. That is what you want every single day. For you to get up and say, I've never worked a day in my life, because what I'm doing, it celebrates life. It makes a contribution. It inspires me. It empowers me. I feel content, not complacent. That's different. But I feel content in my contribution. That is what sustains you. So that is what makes you relevant. It is the contribution. That relevancy has to do with what we can pour into the whole, what we can pour in, what I can give to Paige and Fawn and Beverly and Amber and Ivy and Crystal and James and Chantrice and Ambrose, what I can contribute to you such that you can go forward and contribute to others. Now, when you look at these pictures that are on the slide, they are the same person, but they really are not the same person. What is the distinction that you see between the two images? And it won't hurt my feelings at all for you to be transparent. Please come off of mute. You don't have to raise your hand. I just want you to be here and be in group. What
I
is
see energy.
Where?
On the second picture. I see movement and energy on that second picture.
Yeah.
And you cut your hair.
Yes. Yes, I did chop it for sure. And then someone posted, I think Crystal posted, smile. Ambrose, what were you going to say? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
The energy between the two pictures. The second one, the one on the right, more energy, more sort of just life and expression.
Yeah. So
you're more engaging. You're more engaging than Will.
Yep, I was going to say in the first picture, it's almost like you had to be there, and the second picture is like you get to be there. You wanted to be there. So yeah.
Oh my God. and that's why, James, like, you are all hitting it on the head, but I love this comment. I love when people say it, because it was so true. And the thing is, I actually think I look more youthful on the right than I do the left, even though it was a 20-year difference. Mm-hmm. And yeah, even though it's like a 20-year difference. And what I'm really trying to convey in this image here is the person on the left came out of college, had worked in corporate America in banking, right there in Kettering, Bank One. And, went on, she was fitting into the norms. She positioned herself to say the right things, to do the right things, to, maybe share only what needed to be shared. She was doing it all right. And I will tell you that this person had no clue as to who she was at that time. And I had all of the trappings of success, quite honestly. Cars, vacation, husband, I had all of the material possessions, all of the things that we think make us great. But times change. Life changes on us. And what began to happen is I began to, wake up each morning, and I actually was like crying, and really praying to my own higher power of my own understanding, like, is this all that there is in life? Or is there something more? And if there is, please reveal that to me, because this is not working. I had all the degrees and, all of that. And something still was missing. I did not feel relevant. Even though, guess what? Not well, let me think about that. Not too long after that picture, like my work had been featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show. It don't get much better than that. And yet I'm waking up crying. You know, and I remember saying to my higher power, like, I don't mean to be ungrateful. But it just proves to me that there is something more, because this woman that is on the right-hand side relinquished a lot. She let go of all the attachments that she thought she needed to define her greatness, define her genius, to define her relevance in the world, and began to live life on her own terms. That she began to redefine what was important to her, whether it was in the workplace. I started a business. You know, this woman on the right began to speak her truth. She began to honor what was true. Even in the workplace, if people said something that I did not agree with, instead of just sitting, I've never been silent. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not going to just be quiet. But, you know, she was able to speak her truth with conviction and clarity and power, and yet it was honoring of that person. It was seeking first to understand. It was just a whole different lens, and it was a lot of work to get to that place. But I tell you, the life that I live now is so vastly different, and it feels whole. Not perfect, but it does feel whole. You know, it feels comfortable. So that really brings me to this conversation that we're having today around leading through times of transition and really trying to help your departments, your organization stay relevant. What I want you to know and what I want you to take away from here is, one, leadership is not a title. So I don't care what your title is. It's a way of being and how you show up. The other thing I want you to know is that things are always changing. That's the way life is supposed to be, for things to change. The question is, can you adapt as you go along? Where do you need to go a little bit deeper in terms of learning how to be more courageous and adapt during times of transition? Where do you have a bigger opportunity to do that? Where do you have a bigger opportunity to begin to hold yourself accountable for developing some of the skills and knowledge? And I'm not talking about higher ed type of knowledge. I'm talking about, hopefully it's on this, I'm going to get to it, the emotional intelligence, competencies that really will help you to stay connected with yourself, as well as connected with others, so that you can lead from a place of power. So my next question for you is, how would you define, I want you to think about an effective leader that you've experienced in your lifetime. Maybe it's in the workplace, or maybe it was in your church or faith-based place, or sorority or fraternity, or wherever. It doesn't really matter. Maybe it was in your family. But I want you to think about somebody who you deemed as effective. And I want you to think about what made them effective and how it felt when you were in their presence, how it felt when they were conveying information to you, asking you to do something. What was that experience like? And I'm going to put the talking stick in the middle. Anybody can pick it up. Tell me about this person who you saw as an effective leader. Talking stick is in the middle.
I think, one, they create safe spaces to have candid and honest conversations, even if you don't agree, even if you all don't agree on whatever subject you're talking about. So you don't feel like you're being attacked or anything. You feel like you all are having a diversity of thought. It's like a think tank. And then it always comes out as a good solution or viable. And everybody has a role and a part. So I am going to plug my team on this, because I think all of us are leaders within our team, and that's how we function. And it's 4 of us for the whole state. And in doing so, I still think that we put out very effective work, and we establish consistently collaborative partnerships and diverse partnerships throughout the state. And we can only do that because we do have those leadership qualities.
Ashe, I love that. What else? What else have you experienced in effective leaders? Anyone?
I would say, in my experience, the effective leaders that I've been around gave time to think and to listen. Um, it wasn't about so much about just them outwardly communicating, but giving their time and making sure that the person that they were speaking with felt like that time was, being respected, and that their comments were important, that their thoughts were important.
Yes, Ashe. They honor them. You know, they recognize their relevance, regardless of what their title is. They recognize their relevance, and they honored that. And so, listening is a outstanding skill to support people in feeling relevant, feeling like a contributor to a group. Okay, someone else, an effective leader.
I think for
Yep.
me, an effective leader is someone who recognizes we're not all the same. We have varying strengths. And a leader that can actually recognize strengths in their team and what do I want to say, like cash in on those, like find what your team's strengths are and let them soar. Even if they know more than you do, let them go,
Yeah. No, you're so on point, Beverly, because what we have had in some situations, not all, is people feel so intimidated because, again, they're getting their validation from outside of themselves. But when you feel whole on the inside, and that's why we have to focus on the individual beginning to feel whole, so that when Beverly shows up as a powerful being that she is, I don't feel depleted in any way because I bring my light too. This little light shines, that little light shines, and together that makes like an atomic bomb in a good way.
I would like to piggyback on that with Fawn's comment. She said effective leaders demonstrate a level of trust in the individuals that work for them. And then I know James had a comment as well.
Yes, Ashe. Trust is fundamental to every single relationship. You cannot have a relationship if you do not have trust. Period. James, what you got?
Yep. Yeah. I was going to trust is what was on my tongue, but I also wanted to say I think effective leaders are inclusive, meaning they include others and not just those that I call it, work for you or report to you, but those that are also like sideways to you or above you. You reach all around, the organization for input and for direction, and you share that, and don't try to take all the credit for whatever was come up. You may present it, but you don't necessarily take the credit. You also give the credit to those that helped you with the discussion or with rectifying the opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because again, great leaders want to prime the pump, not being fake. They want to, the goal of the leader is to inspire other people to be great. I want Paige to do what she's supposed to do on her own. I want her to come in lit and ready to perform and to bring the grand ideas. And we support her in navigating through them, dissecting it, stripping it apart, weaving it back together, and boom, she executes on that. That's what I want her to do.
Me too. Thanks.
So then the question becomes, when we think about, and I want you to just ponder for a moment, we've all had them, individuals who were not as mature in their leadership. And as a result of them being immature in their leadership, they were ineffective. I want you to think about an ineffective leader that you've been around for a while, and maybe it was a while ago, or maybe it's recently. And I want to ask, the question I want to ask around this is, what do you think stands in the way of leaders who are in this state moving from being ineffective to effective? And just so you know, it's all on a continuum. So we go from all of us go from ineffective. Once we identify a competence that we are fragile in, we want to move from ineffective to effective, and then from effective to effortless. Effortless is like brushing your teeth. You've been doing it for 40 years. Like, you know how to brush your teeth. If the lights are out, you know how to brush your teeth. Like, you don't even have to think about it. You want to get your skills to that point. But most of us are just trying to, one, make the leap from being ineffective to effective. So the question that's being posed right now is, what do you think keeps individuals, us, because it's all a mirror for us, keeps any of us from moving from being ineffective to effective? Talking stick is in the middle.
I think starting out is recognizing where your inefficiencies are, right?
Yes.
And saying, hey, these are my inefficiencies, and surrounding people with who that might be their strengths. And that's how you help navigate to move down that spectrum in a positive direction. But
so you
when
said
you don't,
two things here. I apologize. You said two things there that were really important. One is being able to recognize it. The second thing you said was being able to receive support. Two different things, both of them critical. Let me comment on one of them, and then I want you all to be thinking, because I'm coming back to you on what keeps people from moving. The first one you said was you have to become aware of it. Awareness is the start of wisdom. It's not wisdom, but it is the beginning of it. Becoming aware. That means you have to be able to receive feedback. If there's one thing that I train on, people become so uncomfortable with it, is being able to both give and receive healthy feedback. We are taught that failure is fatal and failure is forever. It's not the truth. Failure being if we didn't do it right, if we're being ineffective or inefficient, we think that we're a failure. And we've not learned, and I take full responsibility as an educator that came out of Central State University, okay, under Dr. Howard and Dr. Swanigan, that educators and the whole school system that we have created across this country is hypocritical. Because on one hand, we teach the scientific process, which tells you to go forward, form a hypothesis, go test that hypothesis, fail at the hypothesis so that you can course correct. Do you think we got to this technology by happenstance? Do you think they got it right the first time? Absolutely not. What they had to do is they had to go, try it, tweak it, fail at it, and then go and make some adjustments. They had to take the feedback. Our school systems teach the scientific process as a course, but the application is hypocritical because when students, including us, who were all coming up through the school systems, whenever we didn't fully understand something, there wasn't permission to ask questions without feeling stupid. We were not allowed to go and make the mistake without getting a big red mark across your paper or getting an F on your report card. Who wants to be deemed as a bad girl or a bad boy? No one. And so what happens is the report card, the homework, the asking of the questions is all feedback. So we've been socialized to not receive feedback and to use that feedback in a healthy way, and we've got to stop. We have to shift that. Learn to use the data, take the feedback and use it to improve yourself. And then the second thing that Amber said was being able to receive support. The more we can build trust, as Fawn said, then I can trust that Ambrose is giving me the feedback because he loves me, not because he's trying to condemn me, because he wants me to tap into my greatness, not because he wants to step on me. So that is the difference and the distinction between the two. What else keeps ineffective leaders from becoming effective leaders? Talking stick in the middle.
You know, I was sort of reflecting on other agencies that I've worked for that have had less than effective leadership. And because sometimes they're politically appointed and they're in this like safety hub, they don't have to improve, right? If they've been appointed for a certain period of time. Just interesting, just that thought just came to mind. They're, like I said, they're in like their own little comfort zone. Yes. And they're not really interested in how I feel or what my contribution is or if I disagree with them. I mean, because they're they're all right for however many years they're in their spot.
Yes. Let me tell you something. I just got to say this, and then Ambrose has got a comment. I'm going to say something that's very unpopular, but I'm okay with it because I believe in speaking what my truth is. That is why I do not agree that we should not have term limits. I don't believe in a position for a lifetime. I don't believe Supreme Court should be on there for a lifetime. I even do not believe in tenure. And the reason is because as human beings, it's natural for us to lull ourselves into complacency. Because nobody wants, they do a lot of work to get there, but then they just want to rest instead of using feedback and stretching themselves to really become great at the next level. And so anytime we create constructs and structures that do that, then it suppresses it. It's just natural in human beings that we want to, well, I did my work. And now I'm smooth sailing. Government, and they're not going to like me for saying that, but whatever. You know, whenever you have employment situations where it's very difficult for them to terminate you or to call you on your stuff, it really does create an environment, a culture, I see it over and over, of mediocrity. Ambrose, what were you going to say?
Well, I guess it really sort of to piggyback on what you just stated, because when you talk about the school system and the scientific method and all, and essentially really the culture or environment that the students are living in, that then transcends into the broader society as well. So it's not limited to just that setting. And so even in the work that we do within Extension, going out and to educate and to serve the community, I mean, those are the people we're talking to. We're talking to folks who are in an environment where there is ineffective leadership largely around them, where there is criticism, and this now the term cancel culture is popular. But that is the environment that everyone is living and operating within. Yes. So I think that our work as professionals, as educators, you know, I was in a meeting yesterday, and the thing is, education, in terms of the kind of education that we do, it's not education for the sake of education. Yeah. There actually has to be and should be a purpose in what that educator is doing. That educator is trying to inspire or to make change occur, hopefully positive change, but it is not wrong to have that as an objective or primary objective in the delivery of the knowledge, the information, the training, whatever it is that you're giving to the people. You're trying to make some kind of positive change. But even there, when you go back to the self-worth and those kinds of things, the educator has to be confident, be knowledgeable and confident in that, because the society is going to largely be against that. You know, why are you trying to change us, even if it's for the better?
Yes, that's right. You're right on point. You're right on point. Fawn, what you got? And then Crystal.
Okay.
And then James.
Okay, I was going to say I have two things, but they come back to the same thing of pulling the curtain back. Ineffective leaders don't want you to pull that curtain back.
Woo.
Because they don't want you to see what they don't know.
It's Oz, the wizard.
Yes, it goes back to that. You know, I have seen leaders who lead a certain way because they're afraid to let people know what they don't know. And that goes back to what I said about trusting the people that work under you. If you have that level of trust and you're a good leader, then you don't have to fake it. Yes. And the second thing was, you just can't fake authenticity. You are who you are.
That's right.
And ineffective leaders try. They just try too hard.
Ashe. Thank you. Crystal?
Good afternoon, everyone. The thing I wanted to mention was ineffective leaders are very poor at conflict resolution. I wanted to state that because this is a personal. I've had this happen a few times, but it definitely brought to light for me in many job areas or career paths that I've taken, that when there was conflicts that arose, as they naturally do in the workplace, that that is to me like the make or break moment of whether or not you have a good leader in your midst, is how they respond to challenges, things that it may be a friend that you have a conflict with, or that an employee has a conflict with, and you actually have to go and place disciplinary actions against that friend, and it becomes personal, or they shy away from it because they don't want to be seen in a particular light. So I feel that a leader who is ineffective does not know how to handle conflict properly, and that will show you a lot about them later on down the road, because of how they handle, or lack thereof, those conflicts in the workplace. That is all.
James?
Let the church say amen. I love this. This is good. So I agree. And then Ambrose said something that really was where I was going, is about the cancel culture. And I think ineffective leaders, because of the top down approach, it's like, this is the way we're doing it, this is the way we're doing it. So especially in that, call it middle management tier, where there's one or two people above you saying this is the way we're doing it, they don't have any individualism or any way to really get creative and do things, because if they don't do things a certain kind of way, then they're going to potentially risk they're getting canceled because they're not following the way that the other people are saying. So I think ineffective leaders are ineffective because the leaders that are above them are pushing them or micromanaging them so that they have to follow a certain way. Case in point, I look at the Miami Dolphins football coach. I know I'm talking about football here. He was just relieved of his duties, right? Call it relieved, call it fired, whatever. And it's that cancel culture because him and the general manager, or the owner, let me say, didn't get along. He wasn't doing the things that the owner wanted him to do. Therefore, he decided that he's out. He could be in a great leader. He might do well somewhere else and underneath somebody else's leadership. He may do well leading a football team, but under that particular owner, he just didn't fit the bill.
Yes. So I totally understand what you're saying. And I think what I want to add to that, because we are impacted by other people's, where they are in their maturity level, because that's what you're talking about, is that the owner, I'm going to show you this, that the owner, that there were interpersonal conflicts, and they couldn't navigate through the interpersonal conflicts. As a leader, I have chosen, and all I teach is how to be a principle-centered leader, because you are going to come up against people who have not matured in their leadership, and they will bring it'll be personal to them. It will, any conflict becomes personal for them. You will, what is most important is that you are clear and convicted in who you are, and that you stand on that no matter what. Even if it means being relieved of your duties, which is not something that we want, but it is something that may happen. But what you take with it is not just esoteric. It is the most powerful way of operating from who you are. The two pictures that I showed you, becoming more authentic. I think it was fun. It was said, when you are authentic in who you are, people may not like you, but they will respect you. And people can not only feel that, but you will find that people will gravitate towards that. It may not be that person because they haven't matured in their leadership. But other people will be able to see that, especially if you continue to imbue those same qualities in who you are. So being principally centered versus value centered, which your values are personal to you, but being principally centered and recognizing that how you show up impacts everything and everyone, and being consistent in what your intention is as a leader and how you want to show up. The quality and the character of the leader that you are playing to be will never fail you, even though it may not be with the Miami Dolphins. It might be with the Cincinnati Bengals, which is where I'm from.
I'm sorry. No.
But you know I'm in Atlanta, so. But I'm not even going to talk about Falcons.
But I love Hamilton County. I love that's one of my county, so I love Hamilton County.
In these last 8 minutes, I'm going to close out by saying that if you want to become more effective as a leader, if you have the courage to answer the call of being a leader, then the best way for you to do that, no matter what stage you are in, is to develop your emotional intelligence. So what is EI or your EQ? Emotional intelligence is basically your ability to understand who you are. It's to become self-aware. It's understanding not only your emotions, but where your personal power lies. It is your ability to be able to assess yourself, your strengths and your weaknesses. And then it's your ability to be able to self-manage, which basically means you can take that feedback, internalize it, and use it to catapult you, not to stagnate you, to catapult you. And this is what creates this sense of self-motivation to be able to achieve the goals that you desire. This is self-motivation. Nobody can motivate you. Motivation is intrinsic. I can inspire you, but not motivate you. And then once you're able to, or as you're able to be more effective in that, that emanates out to help you understand where other people are, including the owner, to understand why he makes the moves that he does, you know? And so it allows you to empathize with others and to understand situational awareness and to be able to navigate through those waters. Because guess what, James? It's a lot of people out here that are ineffective leaders, as demonstrated by the data, not because of what I'm saying. And it's because we don't understand ourselves and we don't understand other people. So you can't give what you don't have. So the ability to foster healthy relationships comes out of this emotional intelligence space. We focus a lot on the social skills and leadership skills, but it's really your emotional intelligence. So these are the 26 competencies of social emotional intelligence. This column is all about you. This column is all about how you relate to other people. This row is all about being aware. This row is all about the management, the tactics that you go through. So the more you can develop these competencies, and this happens in layers and levels. So you may be very aware, but you don't know how to translate that into action. Or maybe your integrity is a little shaky, and integrity is not just like telling the truth. It's about honoring who you are. So when we talk, Fawn, about authenticity, that's where that sits. The reason that people waffle on their leadership style and their conviction is because their integrity is a little shaky. That's all emotional intelligence. Your ability, like achievement and drive, realistic optimism, resiliency, stress management, personal agility, being intentional about what you do. Notice your personal power up here. These are all critical. How important is this in your day-to-day work? How important is this? Critical. For you to even, your confidence is 100% tied to this. Your ability to go after promotions, be the powerful figure in the room. And then you look at this, situational awareness, a service orientation, building trust, fostering bonds, teamwork, communication, interpersonal effectiveness, powerful influencing skills, conflict management, inspirational leadership, catalyzing change, not just the agility, but to be able to lead change, because you can manage yourself. Now you can lead change and coach others to do the same. How important is this in your work, in running a business, in working collaboratively? Pivotal. So if you really want to become the best version of yourself, put the emphasis here. You want to be relevant, make the contribution into yourself such that you become the fuller version of yourself to be able to pour out to others. That's the way that it works. It's very simple. Our higher power does not make it complicated, makes it very simple so we can understand it, but we convolute it with a whole bunch of other stuff. But this is very, very simple. And I'm going to end on that note. I could go on and on for hours because I'm a teacher and I enjoy what I do. I don't work a day. And I too do not work when I'm speaking and training and all of that. I enjoy what I do. So I'm happy in the last couple of minutes to take any questions that you have, hear any comments or thoughts that you have. But for the most part, I challenge each of you in this moment to question which of these competencies do you feel strongest in, and which do you feel like it's time for you to level up? Because we can't leave here without a charge. Where can you level up in your own leadership? Because we can always face forward and talk about what other people need to do and shake our heads and and they're ineffective. But where can you stand to level up? And what I would love for people to do is either come off of mute and share where they can be committed to leveling up, or post it in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. And I will start it off, and I will tell you that the area that I am leveling up in right now is in my own personal power as I build a multi-billion-dollar personal empowerment conglomerate to heal and serve 1 million people per year. It's a big task. It requires a lot. It requires me being clear on who I am. And that's what I'm leveling up in right now. Who will follow me and share where they're leveling up? Go ahead, Fawn.
I am going to work on stress management. It's time. It's time. I can't be everything to everybody. And my great aunt told me that, and sometimes I forget it. And lately, we've had to take some things back. So I'm dealing with stress management. And the other one is, I want to say realistic optimism. I feel like it's waning. I'm not as optimistic as I used to be, so I have to get back there.
Yes, I should. Surround yourself with people who are optimistic. That'll help. Who else will share where they stand and what they're willing to work on?
I'm going to go with intentionality on one, because I feel like we have excellent programs that hold on. We have excellent programs that we could literally change the world and the community first that we live in. And I think being more intentional, for me, maybe I've been letting other people kind of drive the bus.
Yeah.
I give them the keys and let them drive the bus. I think now it's time for me to kind of assist them and maybe show them a different route that we can get to the right people. So I got to be more intentional with my actions. And then the from the social competence one, I was just looking at it. It is the powerful influencing skills.
Yes.
So I think I want to tie those two together and just work on my influencing skills just by continuing to educate myself and give knowledge and information, so that as I'm sharing information, they understand the importance of what we share.
Ashe. Anybody else want to do a share? Ambrose, I can see you chomping at the bit.
I don't know fully how to express it, and then I'm not sure if I should. But
you're always safe.
Well, no. I because a lot of what you spoke about here today, I've gone through some of that development over the years, and it was like several years back when I sort of decided upon that people should define what victory is to them.
Yes.
And in part it came from, I was deep into my my law practice, doing a lot of litigation, and it's like being out there fighting evil every day. And the rules will lead to a certain conclusion, which supposedly is the win, but it's not truly a victory. So if you measure by that, you lose. But there are things that you can accomplish that truly are the real victory. So with respect to where we are today, and when we talk about the leveling up, I think that what I am trying to find words for, and I'll just share it because I'm still trying to find words, so don't think I'm going to be like this. But when we talk about this culture, the environment that we exist within, there is a lot of there are some levels where it's not ineffective leadership. Ineffective leadership is not leadership. Somewhere on that scale, it ceases to be leadership, period. So I think that in terms of the fact that we have a society and you're interacting with other people, some of these situations are a danger or a harm to the society, to the group, to the society. So something has to be done to eliminate the problem, the harm. So that I don't know what words to put on it, but there are certain situations where that has to happen, and someone or someone's have to actually take that kind of action. So it's, and I say that, and I know, we hear a lot here and there in the media about the our democracy and all that kind of thing. There are some, when you really look at the behavior of the people, we are really dealing with some very scary times. And when we talk about education, knowledge, information, a lot of it still goes back to that in terms of what people know, don't know, what they act upon. So the role that we play within Extension in terms of educating, it is a very, it just goes to the core of how people interact. They need to have that truthful, accurate information. There are some things it's not an opinion. If you say, well, H2O is the molecule for water, you can't change H2O and say it's going to be H3O. There are some things which are an absolute fact, and everyone has to learn the fact, not your version of the fact. The fact is the fact. So
yeah,
so
yeah, and it will take a lot. No, it will take a lot of power. I think personal power to be able to lead that, and each of us is charged with leading that from our own space. In this case, the Extension, you all are leading from that space, and so you all as a group will have to decide, what does that mean to be very intentional, very clear, very powerful in how you go about helping people to make that shift, because that's what you're being called to do. It wouldn't even be coming up for you if it wasn't for you all to carry that. And so I applaud you. I do applaud you. And if there's anything that I can do to help you to catalyze change in that space, I'm happy to do that. So with that, I thank you all for being here and being so interactive. I love this. Amber, thank you for inviting me. And with that, I am complete.
And thank you, as always. Truly enjoyed this past hour with you. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I appreciate everybody coming in and joining us today and being interactive. So the purpose of this kind of first meeting of the month with our CED office live is really to focus on organizational development things, personal development things, because with community and economic development is building buildings, it's building businesses, but it's also building people. And so we try to deal with all of those things. And this is one of the people building sessions. We dealt with some organizational building sessions last month with Ambrose led us on some trainings on that. And just want to let you know that next week, for January, we're focusing on community and economic development as a whole. And next week, I will have Pastor Damon Lynch III, and he will be talking about how he has leveraged his influence once again, and his church to create neighborhood development corporations and other things to impact the community that has nothing to do with the religious doctrine of their church, right? So they have positioned over the years as a community development epic center, whether it's people development, whether so leaders come there, politicians come there, individuals come there, all social economic things. That is one of the centers of the city of Cincinnati. And he's going to talk about his intentionality to position his influence and people around him to make effective change and impact in Cincinnati over the years. So hope you all will join us next Thursday at 2. And once again, thank you for joining. When the link is ready, I will make sure that you all get a copy of the recording. Feel free to share, post on social media, etc., etc. Until next week on Thursday, this concludes today's session of CED Office Hour Live. Bye, everyone.